So welcome to our second exposure to the fields in the series, our first GBM for the spring semester. For this GBM, we'll be focusing on global market access with Yoko, and then commercial insights and strategy with Waymond. And we're probably going to get right into it. But here's a little picture of them. We have Yoko, who is a postdoctoral fellow. Oh my God, this is a mouthful. Global Oncology Market Access and Pricing with Daiichi Sankyo. Is that pronounced correctly? And then Waymond, who is also, well, just a position change, so I'll let him update you on that. But he was a postdoctoral fellow, commercial insights and strategy with the Janssen pharmaceutical companies of J&J. So Yoko, you can share your slides now, and we can get right into it. And you can introduce yourself, of course, as well.
Oh, Yoko, I think you're muted.
Okay.
There
we go. Yeah. Sorry, I never use Zoom. So. Okay. Hey guys, my name is Yoko. I'm a first-year postdoc fellow at Daiichi Sankyo in global market access and pricing, like Justin said. Let's see here. So a little bit of background. I'm going to go quick because I know me and Waymond only have like about 10-15 minutes each. So a little bit of background about me. I'm originally from Southern California. I studied chemistry and bio at UC Irvine, and then started at CVS as a tech at a very young age. And then after undergrad, I kind of wanted to live abroad. So I moved to Tokyo and I taught English in Japan for about 1.5 years. Then came back to the States and wanted to pursue pharmacy. So I decided to go to UIC because I thought Chicago was absolutely beautiful. And then I also got a job at the VA hospital there. And now currently I'm a fellow at Daiichi Sankyo in partnership with Rutgers. Okay, so I guess my involvement and my experience during my time at UIC is organization-wise, I was involved with, heavily involved with Kappa Psi and APHA. I think Kappa Psi P2 was.
Are you sharing your slides?
Yeah, can you not see them?
No.
Why don't you guys tell me?
I thought you were just talking.
No, okay. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
See them now?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, so this was my background. I'm sorry. Okay, so in terms of involvement, heavily involved with Kappa Psi and APHA, my P1 and P2 year. And then my P3 year, I was heavily involved with PLS. I was fortunate enough to be the chapter president there. And I was involved with AMCP in terms of just doing PNT, P2 and P3 year. And then I was also heavily involved with, just, I guess, helping out Dan DeCesar. So we love Dan, and, a lot of stuff at the Office of Student Affairs. I was a PA my second year, and then I co-coordinated the PA program my P3 year. So in terms of research, I did transplant research. So this was my P2 year, and I thought I really wanted to do clinical pharmacy. So I really enjoyed 504. So I really liked transplant. So I did a transplant research with Dr. Lickbar, who's no longer there. My P4 year, I also did a specialty pharmacy rotation, and I did a research project there as well. And then I did 2 other research projects, one in managed care and one, clinical one kind of during my P4 year with COVID-19 with Dr. John Shtilka and Liz Van Drill. And then in terms of work, I worked at CVS Pharmacy up in Wicker Park for a bit, and then I transferred. What I didn't transfer, I stopped working at CVS, and then I thought I wanted to do clinical pharmacy. So I got a job at Jesse Brown VA Hospital, and I was in inpatient pharmacy. My goal, my P2 year was, okay, I'm going to do a residency at the VA, and then, work at the VA for a couple of years, and then transfer to a different VA out of state, like back to California. So that was like my mentality P2 year. So obviously that wasn't, that I didn't do that. So I'm currently a fellow. I guess in terms of my fellowship, I like I said, it's in partnership with Rutgers University. I think Waymond will kind of go into that a little bit more. My partner company is Daiichi Sankyo, and position title is Global Oncology Market Access and Pricing. And it is a 2-year fellowship. So some fellowships that are not associated with the university may be a 1-year program. So that just means it's just like not associated with the university, or it's just a 1-year fellowship. So they're all different. And then specifically with Daiichi, I work on our product in HER2, which is I'm on the breast cancer indications. So I'm doing the HER2 positive breast cancer and the HER2 low breast cancer indications. And then my co-fellow does the gastric and lung indications. Okay, so I guess a little bit about global market access. So market access is basically about getting the right treatment to the right patients at the right time and at the right price for us. So there needs to be consistent and sustained access to drugs. We need to be able to generate and communicate our data to various stakeholders that are involved in the process of funding our product, basically. And we got to make sure that our products are fairly priced and reimbursed. So I do want to note that global market access and US market access are very different. So I'm on the global side. So a lot of the US, managed care classes that you take, US managed care and market access, there's a lot of overlap there. So as manufacturers, we need to be able to communicate the value of our product to different stakeholders before our drug can be accessed by patients. And this process is very different between countries. So after regulatory approval, as you can see here, manufacturer obtains approval from regulators. So like the FDA or the EMA. So EMA is basically the European version of the FDA. And the EMA will approve a marketing authorization. That's what it's called. And then after that that's where we come in as market access. So even if the product is licensed, the drug may not be accessible to patients. And in many countries that, the price and the target patient population for that drug needs to be agreed with the regulators before patients can access the drug. Okay, so like I said, market access is making sure that, the drug or our drug can be prescribed to the appropriate patients, which is very closely linked with pricing. So the price that needs to be paid to the manufacturer, and as well as reimbursement. So ensuring that, when somebody prescribes that drug, they can be reimbursed for that expense. So a little bit of what, this is like really, I didn't know all this information just like 6 months ago. So this is very it can be very confusing. So after you get EMA approval, like I said, you get marketing authorization, right? So this is more European flow. So marketing authorization is the approval to market a medicine in one or all of the European Union member states. So how the drug is paid for differs between countries, and where applicable, different HTA or health technology assessment systems are utilized. So basically HTA systems it's part of the national systems of pricing and reimbursement. It provides guidance to payers on whether to reimburse the medicine or not. And each country, has different HTA systems, and some countries don't even have an HTA system. So I kind of wanted to go through one example of an HTA for, this is an example for France. So France has a transparency committee, which analyzes and assesses our product and will give the product a rating for that specific indication. So they'll give it an SMR rating, basically determining the product's medical benefit, and then an ASMR rating, determining the drug's improvement of medical benefit. So if you look here on the right, the SMR rating is of medical benefit. So if they rate our product moderate, it's a 30% chance, like the reimbursement rate. So if it's an insufficient rating, then you're likely not going to get reimbursed. And then ASMR rating, we have major, it's from 1 through 5. 1 is major, 5 is no clinical improvement. So if it's no clinical improvement, then your price is probably going to be a lot lower than the competitor. So like a big discount. But if it's a major improvement, then possibility of a price premium relative to the comparators. And then another thing to keep in mind is price. So price is the published price that needs to be paid to the manufacturer. So IRP is something that is very important. It's international reference pricing. So many countries set their own price by looking at prices in other countries. So for example, like the prices in EU5 or I guess EU4 plus UK are commonly referenced, and it will influence the price paid in other countries, if that makes sense. So if you look here on the right, let's say, okay, France will reference UK. So France will look at UK's price and determine their price in France, along with other countries. But you can see how many arrows are going towards France. So a lot of other European countries will look at France's price and kind of determine their price based on that. So every country has like a bucket of prices that they look at, and they'll either take the average or the lowest average of those countries' prices and kind of determine their prices based on that. Okay, so just to wrap it up, market access, you need to be able to balance kind of these three factors: time, right? Speedy access or not, volume. So if you have a broad access or not, and then the price, how to maintain your price. And that's, obviously what's best for the product. And cross-functional collaboration is very important. We are always collaborating with Reg Affairs, marketing, global medical affairs, clin dev, market research, very closely with HEOR, and also the regional and local affiliates or local teams in the specific countries. So that is global market access really quick. I want to give some time for Wayman to go through his slides too.
Awesome. Thanks, Yoko. Can I just say that your slides look really nice, by the way? I feel like my slides will not live up to your slides.
Thank you.
Let me go ahead and share my screen real quick and see if I can get this technology right first time around. Where's that present? Okay, are you all able to see my screen? Hopefully you're not seeing presenter view, or are you seeing presenter view?
I can see the normal view.
Okay.
So it's good.
Okay, awesome. Well, hello everybody. My name is Wayman Zhao. I am very pleased to be here with everyone here today. I gotta say, this is my first first invitation to be a speaker, so very excited to be here with you all today. As Justin had kind of mentioned, I am a postdoctoral fellow, and I do have, a somewhat interesting background. I don't feel like I've ever gone straight into industry, so for today, what I really wanted to do was just kind of share with you all my background, give you a sense of like what I did throughout UIC, and then kind of talk a little bit about commercial, and then give you all just a cheat sheet of kind of if you're thinking about going into industry, what can you kind of do and leverage now to set yourself up best for a role in the industry in the future. So here we just have like a brief outline of my background. I started, my love for pharmacy kind of started out with Walgreens when I started working with them as a cashier, actually. And then kind of grew through the ranks. I eventually became a pharmacy technician, eventually became an intern, and was slated to be a pharmacist, but I ended up choosing the industry route. I got my bachelor's from the University of Illinois, Chicago. So I've done pretty much all my education at UIC. Some other experiences that I've gotten through UIC and through employment. I was also a medication therapy management intern with Molina Healthcare of Illinois, which is a smaller managed care company. During that time, I would spend some hours, just calling patients, talking to them about their medications, just making sure they're adherent to taking their medicines, particularly those for patients who had hyperlipidemia, diabetes, as well as hypertension. From there, it was actually that experience that I got through Molina Healthcare that I started looking into non-traditional pharmacy paths. Through that experience, I realized that pharmacists can actually make an impact from an office setting, and you don't necessarily have to be in front of patients all day long. So that's kind of where I started looking into, again, non-pharmacy paths. And then it just so happened that like an opportunity came up under Astellas Pharma, which is a small to mid-sized pharmaceutical company up in Northbrook. They specialize in oncology and rare diseases. Started out with them as an intern working in their real world informatics and business analytics division. Really loved the work I did there. I felt like in pharma, the interesting thing is there's a hierarchy, but at the same time, depending on which company you are, you can also be able to speak to like a VP and really learn from them and receive good feedback from them. So that's something that I really liked about pharma. So decided to stick with it. And then I graduated in 2020 with a dual degree for PharmD and my MBA. And then I decided to go down the path of doing a fellowship, which I did a 2-year postdoc fellowship under the same program as Yoko, but mine is focused on commercial insights and strategy. And most recently, I actually just transitioned over to a manager position. So really happy to kind of join the team. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to share that experience as well. Going a little bit more into my involvement at UIC COP and my work experience. On the left, I have my organizations that I was involved in, kind of all over the place. I consider myself a dabbler. I like to try out different things, and I think the one organization that stuck with me the most was not only APA but also also AMCP, which is the Academy of Managed Care Pharmacy. I think given where pharmacy is developing nowadays, there's a lot more growth going on in the non-traditional pharmacy sectors, such as managed care and industry. So, you know, I'm not sure where the audience is in terms of where they want to go in terms of their career. The only word of advice I would just give to everybody is just, you know, be open to the concept of doing non-traditional career paths right now, because that's just where a lot of the job growth is. And you can take advantage of these orgs that UIC has already in place to kind of get you there. Kind of mentioned this on the right side already, but I did work at Walgreens, Molina, as well as Estella's. And then here we have an overview of commercial. At a high level overview, commercial has a lot of moving parts, a lot of different roles. This framework is by no means like comprehensive of everything. I'm just going to name a few of them, which includes business development and licensing, marketing, market access, sales, reimbursement specialists, pricing strategists, and much more. This outline is just meant to give a general structure of commercial and kind of how a product is commercialized. Starting on the left, we have typically where large companies are identifying business opportunities from the very get-go. And this is a process called business development and licensing. So typically when our researchers, such as those on the 4th floor, when they do research and they find a new compound very exciting and they want to get it eventually to the market where a patient can actually take it, this is where pharmaceutical companies kind of look to people like the ones that we have on the 4th floor and identify those compounds as being something that could potentially be commercialized in the future. So on the pharmaceutical company side, this is actually where they use market and customer insights and various analyses to kind of determine, you know, what does the market look like and what kind of opportunities there are to bring a product into that field. So for most companies, they're looking for areas that are relatively untapped, where there's not too many competitors. That kind of allows the companies to say, hey, we're the only company to bring a product into this space, and we can price it competitively. And that obviously feeds into their bottom line, which helps them look good in terms of revenue. And another work stream that kind of feeds into that is forecasting. This is pretty much where you have forecasters working in the team, trying to predict in the future, whether it be 1 year, 5 years, how many units of their product they anticipate to actually sell in the future. So it's kind of interesting. It's a lot of guesswork, but using information that's powered by analysis and market research. And then on step 2, this is actually where companies kind of prioritize and determine what opportunities to prioritize and pursue. In commercial, they do a lot of scenario planning and determining of brand objectives. And this is typically actually where, after a company has already acquired another pharmaceutical company that's usually smaller and still in their research phase. And using this acquisition, they usually create hypothetical scenarios where they're launching a product and looking to see how they can kind of message their product. I think a good example I can think of is I'm currently working in oncology, and there's a big focus on achieving deep, durable, progression-free survival and complete remission to help make sure we get that drug over to the patient. So again, companies do a lot of scenario planning just to make sure that the patients are getting the best drug to them at the right time, right place, right patient, and more. I'm missing one more R. I don't remember what it is. Don't tell faculty I said that. And then step 3, this is actually where marketing really steps into the view. Marketing in a nutshell is really focused on creating branded messages that really stick well to the healthcare providers, the payers, as well as the patients. This is ultimately used to communicate the value of the product. Not sure if how many of you have seen these, but there are a lot of TV commercials for branded pharmaceutical drugs. Every marketer has kind of touched that piece. There's also a lot of marketing materials that go out to doctors. If you've ever gone on a drug website, that is all powered by the brain of marketing. So this is a very up and coming field. So for those of you who are kind of looking to break into pharma, I think this is a good opportunity for people to kind of really launch their career into an untapped space. Step 4. This is actually where market access professionals such as Yoko, who was speaking earlier, this is where they kind of work on implementing customer programs that really help patients actually get access to the drugs that we're looking to promote. Ultimately, their work drives to make sure that they're covered by insurances as well as any payer body, and make sure that patients have equitable access to all the products. And then lastly, for step 5, this is where my team actually steps in a lot. This is post-launch. So let's say a drug makes it all the way through the FDA approval process. This is where my team steps in and tracks the product from a daily perspective and make sure that we're capitalizing on it as much as possible and making sure as many patients are able to get on this product as possible. So this feeds into the company's bottom line and make sure that we're profiting on the drugs and stuff. So I know I kind of went through everything really, really quickly, and I know there's a lot of moving parts here. I'll take a quick pause and see if anybody has any questions. I love questions, by the way, so feel free to shoot anything over. And Justin, how am I doing on time while people are kind of thinking and digesting?
Yeah, 7 minutes for yourself.
Okay, cool. Do I have any messages? I can't actually see the chat screen, so.
No, it looks like everyone's a little shy today.
No worries. I think the meat and potato of things will come in the next few slides anyway, so hopefully we'll get a couple more questions then. So, how do you get an industry role? In a nutshell, there's a lot of ways you can get into industry. I listed a couple here, but there's definitely a lot more that are available. The most common routes that people take to get into an industry role, a lot of folks go straight into a fellowship afterward. This is typically 1 to 2 years. 1 year, 1 year fellowships are usually standalone, meaning that they're not tied to an academic institution. 2-year fellowships are usually those that are tied to an academic institution. So those you're pretty much balancing both working at an industry as well as making sure that you're teaching at the university. And that's kind of what me and Yoko are doing. Well, that we just did. We have probably a 80 to 20% commitment for each counterpart. So 80% devoted to industry, and then 20% devoted to the academic component. And I'll go a little bit more in depth on the next slide, actually. But the next option you can consider is also doing a residency. Most people who go down residency route, they typically go through a PGY1, PGY2, and then they'll go break into the industry as a clinical specialist or some sort of medical science liaison. These roles are typically a lot more customer facing, and they speak directly to healthcare providers, healthcare institutions, as well as payers to convey very dense medical information and help these people kind of determine like where our product will fall in line with treating patients. The third one on the top right is consulting and entry-level positions. I would say this has been recently an upcoming area where PharmDs are finding themselves going straight into an entry-level position. These are usually as associates at companies such as ZS, McKinsey. There's one more that's very popular, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. But consulting is actually actually a pretty popular idea, because you would come out making full-time salary, but not necessarily needing to go through a fellowship and residency. But these are somewhat competitive though, because you are kind of working against people who have already been in the industry. Lastly, there are other opportunities. What was that? Did I hear Yoko?
I would feel like, I think consulting is a very great gig right after pharmacy school with like a real salary.
Yep. Yeah. So like Yoko said, I mean, it comes with an actual salary. I'm not saying that the salary from the fellowship is not there, but it does pay significantly more. And there are other opportunities as well. Definitely just keep an eye out and make sure you network as much as possible to get those opportunities. Here is a quick snapshot of fellowship versus residency, but I know we're coming up on time shortly. I'll skip through this, and I think Justin will distribute the slides afterward. So you can kind of use this to compare between the two. Here I have preparation tips for how to secure an industry role. These are sort of general, but I think these have been immensely helpful for helping me secure a fellowship. So kind of gonna go through these relatively quickly. Make sure try from day one to seek out non-traditional pharmacy experiences. And these could be industry internships, managed care internships, specialty internships, and your rotations. I know me as a person going through pharmacy school. I think if I were to go back in time, I would definitely look for those non-traditional internships. Those are immensely helpful for helping you differentiate yourself. Number two, definitely try and differentiate yourself from other candidates. And this can be done through leading a research, publication, organization initiative. This kind of stuff will really come through during your interview. So it'll give you speaking points when you are interviewing for roles. I'm sure this is drilled in a lot through pharmacy school, but make sure network, because pharmacy is a small world, and I'm sure Yoko can attest to this. Industry is even smaller. So make sure you network professionally and don't burn any bridges. Number four, make sure you attend as many conferences as possible. This was something that I kind of wish I took advantage more as a student. There are a lot of conferences that are developed just for the benefit of the students, so make sure to take advantage of those. Number five, there are two offices that stick out in particular under UIC. They love to help out students, which are OSA and OFA. We have an extensive network within the industry, so just make sure you reach out to these offices, and they'd be more than happy to connect you with them. Other than that, 6 through 9, kind of general. Just make sure you keep your CV updated and really look for mentors that are out there to help you. Mentors have been immensely helpful for me to just kind of bounce ideas off of, because they have your career at best in mind. So yeah, I know that was a lot. Happy to take any questions. I'll turn it over to Justin. I know we're up on time already.
Yeah, do you both have to get to your meetings? It's 1 p.m.
I do, actually. I'm sorry.
Okay. That's okay. I can forward.
I think I did cover most of my stuff though.
Yeah. I can forward these questions to you both as well.
Okay, and then I think, okay, so in the chat, Ty, you asked for the characteristics. I think maybe some of your answers were on Wayman's slide. What summer internships, I believe Fox posted some with your name on them. So I never did a summer internship with pharma or anything. I don't know, Wayman, I know Wayman had a job at Estella's, but
Yeah, I would say those summer internships are pretty valuable. It definitely gives you speaking points when you do apply for a fellowship or a full-time role.
yeah,
Yeah,
because during interviews, sometimes the managers or whoever's interviewing you like to see that you have industry experience. Like in my case, that wasn't an issue, right? Like my preceptor didn't care whether or not I had industry experience, clearly. I mean, I had a rotation at BMS, but I wasn't ever like an intern or anything. But yeah.
And especially if you're applying for the same company that you did your internship at, I think a good example is there was an intern at J&J that applied for a J&J fellowship, and the hiring manager actually did an internal reach out to the original manager, and they got high praises, so they ended up securing a fellowship. So really that network does help a lot.
Okay, and then what was the biggest selling point for being an industry pharmacist for you, and when did you realize this?
I think I can answer this one. So I think the big difference between a clinical role versus an industry role is, from an industry perspective, you're looking at a macro perspective. Your product can potentially touch millions of lives, as opposed to, you know, working day to day managing a specific patient's clinical profile. For me, it was just more so I wanted to make an impact on a macro level, as opposed to like working on day to day patient cases. And I realized this through rotations, actually. So I was definitely developing my career as I was going through pharmacy school.
Yeah, and I think it's always good. I mean, I did retail for a long time, and then I went into inpatient pharmacy, and then realized I didn't want to do that, and I wasn't as passionate about clinical pharmacy as you should be going into residency. And then I started to like managed care, and then I got into, you know, market access. So I think it's just kind of, you know, trying different things and seeing what you like or what it interests you. But yeah, I think we do both have to jump.
Thank you both for coming. That was great. Actually, I'm probably gonna like rewatch these recordings because they were that good. So
Oh, thanks, Justin. And I included our contact information at the last slide, so feel free to. I'm okay with everybody emailing me if you have any follow-up questions.
yeah, and I'll put it in the chat because it wasn't on the slides since you stopped sharing. But yeah, I'll get that to the students. And then for Yoko, once you send me those slides, I'll also provide that to them as well.
Cool, sounds good. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you, Justin.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys. Have a
everyone.
good one.
Have a great one.
Bye, Wayman.
Bye.
Good luck at your meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, those two busy beans. Okay, back to, so I'm sure you all want, you know, your attendance and everything, but before we do that, I'm gonna end the recording because it's no more of the actual thing. Let's see.